I want you to get to the point that you made yesterday on Get Up, which did not have an opportunity to talk to you about. I want you to go there. I ain't interested in this stuff. Who's older? Kevin Durant is the second best player in the world. Period. No wonder Jalen Rose almost walked off the set on you. You've got to be crazy. Kevin Durant is the greatest players we have ever seen in our lives. I'm gonna call the bosses today. You should be banned from talking basketball. What I'm gonna say to you is a couple of things. Number one, you need to be drug tested immediately. Because I got news for you. When it comes to basketball, baby, sit back and take notes. Let me tell you something. LeBron James is the best player in the world. Do you realize that Kevin Durant is not a shooter? He's a scorer, and he can shoot in a streaky fashion, but he is nowhere near the marksman that LeBron James is. He could have hit Broadway if it were empty. I think you're biased against skinny people. That's what I think it says. You think you're biased against skinny people. Listen, Kevin Durant obviously don't have muscles. He didn't gain 57 pounds in muscle. Listen, I'm the guy that said that Kevin Durant's move to Golden State was weak. That doesn't mean he's weak. That doesn't mean he's not a superstar. That doesn't mean he's not being disrespected by the likes of you. LeBron is a physical specimen, and his physical dominance is undeniable. I'm talking from a skilled perspective. Do you know how many things he can do? Hell no.
He took to Twitter on Thursday to say thanks for giving him some added motivation, tweeting this: "Thank you, as if I needed more gas. Hashtag washed. Hashtag frown emoji." Max, tell me this. What does LeBron have to do to silence the haters?
Beat the Nets. How's that? Try that. Beat the Nets. Beat KD and the Nets. That'll silence the haters. By the way, he'll be the underdog to do it, no doubt. Think about if you switch teams, though. Let's say LeBron's teammates were Harden and Kyrie, and KD's were Westbrook, or reuniting, let's just say, with Westbrook and AD. Imagine if you would have given Westbrook and KD, once they reached their peaks, AD on that team. Ooh. You think about it a little differently. You think the Lakers' chances, at least I do, got a little better because of the way KD shoots the ball. Now the shooting problem goes away a little bit. Yeah, LeBron would be the underdog against the Nets. I expect the Nets at full strength to be unmatched. But he's not without chances, LeBron. Westbrook is a great player. With warts and all, he's a great player. AD is a great player. And LeBron, last I recall, was considered by many the MVP last year until he started slowing down due to injury. By many, the MVP last year. This would not be the first time, Stephen A., LeBron James has done something like this. In 16, he beat the 73-win Warriors team, a team in Game 7 where LeBron James won Finals MVP, a team that Kevin Durant's OKC Thunder took to a Game 7 at Oracle and failed to beat. He beat the 73-win team on the road that KD couldn't beat. And he beat Steph Curry and everyone, and he was the undisputed king of basketball. You want to be that again? Because I get where LeBron's coming from. It's one thing if there's a unanimous selection of someone else. Then LeBron has a little less to complain about. But if votes are going to two different guys and he gets none, I see why he's upset, because he's certainly in the mix with KD and Giannis. Certainly in the mix. In fact, when I brought that up, I remember you and I think it was Perk getting on me for including Giannis in that mix. But I felt after that finals performance, Giannis has to be in the mix with KD and LeBron. So I get where LeBron is coming from. You want to silence the haters? Beat Brooklyn. That'll silence the haters.
Let me say this to you, Max Kellerman. First of all, I can respect the fact that LeBron James is insulted. He's on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, make no mistake about it. One of the top two or three greatest players of all time, him, MJ, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I don't think anybody will question that at this point in his career. It's plain and simple. He's on the Mount Rushmore. Having said all of that, I can understand LeBron James being insulted about the Greek Freak, comparisons to the Greek Freak. He has no business being insulted about Kevin Durant. Could y'all, let me be very, very clear. Let me look into the camera and say this stuff. Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. Period. There is no NBA player, including LeBron James, at this point in time, that is a better player than Kevin Durant in the world. Nobody. Now, let me say this. If you're LeBron, I can understand why you're going to be upset about the Greek Freak. Because, see, I'm looking at LeBron James' numbers here. 26, 27, 27, 25, 25 over the last 4 or 5 years, okay? And we see what he shoots from the field. And even though he's a different player than the Greek Freak, he's a creator. Even though we saw Greek Freak passing the ball exceptionally well in the finals against Phoenix, he deserves a lot of credit for that. And we saw the monster game he had in the closeout game, particularly hitting 17 to 19 free throws, which we never thought we'd see from him in our lifetime, okay? We get all of that. But in the end, when you look at LeBron James the playmaker, LeBron James the facilitator, LeBron James the basketball savant that exploits mismatches like it's going out of style, LeBron James the greatest passer in the game as far as I'm concerned. When you look at all the elements of his game and what he brings to the table, there is simply no denying how special LeBron James is, the kind of effect and impact he has on the game of basketball. And there's no way on earth that two players should definitively be rated ahead of him to the point where he receives no votes from the executives and scouts. No votes. There's no excuse for that, okay?
Stephen A., this is where I'm confused, though. LeBron has the same numbers, if not better, than Kevin Durant last season. I'm looking at him right now.
Well, I'm not looking at just numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at just numbers because, you see, if I was looking at just numbers, Molly, I could sit up there and go to the free throw line as well, because I keep bringing that up because that matters and people ignore the fact. See, when you can't hit free throws, Molly, and LeBron James over the last 3 years, let me make sure I have this right on point here. LeBron James over the last 3 seasons, 66.5%, 69.3%, 69.8%. He hasn't hit 70% of his free throws the last 3 years and 4 of the last 5 years. Why does that matter? Because what happens is, if I have questions about you from the free throw line, number one, I can lay off you and dare you to hit perimeter shots. Number two, when you get to the basket, I can simply foul you and send you to the free throw line as opposed to letting you convert shots at the basket. Number three, and more importantly, because of that, as the game wanes and crunch times arrive, you are an impediment to the team's success in a lot of situations when going up against elite competition if they're shot makers. That's why Max Kellerman and myself have the Brooklyn Nets as favorites. Why do we have them as favorites, Molly? Why do we have them as favorites, Max? We know they ain't elite defensively. We know that they are below average at best. We were making news about the Nets being ranked 25th as a defensive team and saying that's good enough because they are unstoppable.
Yeah, they score
offensively. Unstoppable. They're shot makers. And so when you compare LeBron and some of his recent struggles, particularly from the free throw line, in that regard, and obviously as a perimeter shooter overall, and you compare that to the marksmanship and the sniper-like capability of Kevin Durant, what would you rather have? I'd rather have Kevin Durant.
I would say it's very close. I'd say it's undetermined right now, but you're entitled to your opinion, as everyone is. I think LeBron is surprised that no one's opinion is that it's him, because Molly's right about the numbers. And in terms of the free throws, LeBron's not a bit like, if he hits about 70% of his free throws. It should be higher. It should be better. That's not a disaster. Out of every 10 trips to the line, or every 5 trips to the line, if it's not an and one, right? You're shooting 2 free throws, so you have 10 free throw shots, right? Out of every 10, KD will hit 2 more than LeBron. That means every 10 trips to the line, KD is worth 2 points more than LeBron. But LeBron more than makes up for that in other ways. Kevin Durant's turned into an excellent passer. LeBron James is among the very greatest passers who ever lived. He elevates the play of those around him, unlike anybody else.